It's off-road to the extreme with this week's episode of Lucas Oil on the Edge. We've done short course racing, we've done desert racing. Now combine the two and you get Ultra 4 off-road endurance race. Drivers will stand on the gas through the course and then have to slam on the brakes and climb a treacherous rock wall. It's tremendous, and it's now on Lucas Oil on the Edge.
Got it tacked up, and if you get too close, you're getting cracked up. Stone cold when I roll, coming out of the hole. Get back, cause I'm out of control. I'm on the edge.
We're ready for another exciting edition of Lucas Oil on the Edge. We'll kick things off with the Ultra 4 series. It's Ultra 4 Racing Off-Road Endurance, and it's presented by General Tire. Ken Stout and Brian Olson here to call all the action for you.
Man, we are in the Ozark Mountains here in southern Missouri, and we're with the Southern Missouri Off-Road Racing Group for the Ultra 4 competition, and this is going to be bizarre to say the least. A lot of obstacles on this course, Ken.
All right, these dudes and about 25 other rigs are ready to go here on 939 acres of Missouri Ozark territory. It is the king of the hammers. It's Ultra 4 racing, and it's the ultimate racing. You get the best of both worlds, the off-road madness flat out, then you slow down immediately to some super rock crawling. Now, obviously, one of the big things when I came in here, I said to myself, they've got to be concerned about these tires. Well, we'll talk about the tires later in the show, but I asked a bunch of these guys, what are you most concerned about losing on your rig on a course like this?
I'd have to say probably keep my drive shafts and also axle shafts. You know, this whole race is about survival. So you can, there's no really any certain part on the car other than those that you got to keep the car good, because it's a survival race.
LS3 Corvette engine. No motor, you ain't going anywhere.
Track like this is a training because there's so many speed differences. You got to be able to change gears, and if the train went down, it'd be a disaster.
Wow, 3 different guys, 3 different opinions, Ken.
And as you can see, there's different levels of difficulty on this track, and each lap is about 9 miles long.
5 being the worst, 1 being the easiest.
Staggered starts here. They'll all leave with their own time and, of course, record their own separate time. And then once everybody has run, they'll figure out who has done the best. Now, there's going to be 6 different laps here, and it's going to take these guys the better part of 40 minutes to make a lap if nothing goes wrong.
40 to 50 minutes, you take all 6 laps combined, and the quickest driver in those laps at the end of the day, which, by the way, is going to take 4 to 5 hours for the top drivers, and you can take a look at the course. Part of it's flat, and part of it's climbing rocks, baby.
Yeah, and you can see that the strategy here is to try to find the easiest way around whatever particular section of the course it is. And if you can stay to the left there, you need momentum to do that. You can really chop some time off. If not, you can see right there, it can cost you a lot of time.
Richie Keller, you're looking at as he makes his way down the easy part of the course. And we were watching that machine try to make its way up the rocky part of the course. You could tell transmission, dry shaft, engine, and I would even say tires, Ken, by looking at the jaggedness of those rocks, would have to be something you'd really have to consider during the course of these 6 segments here.
It's kind of like the Grand National Enduro Cross form of racing, except for these guys use their rock crawlers in the process as the vehicles. And this is exactly why you need a rock crawler. There's a lot of technology inside of these vehicles. You can see the suspension really working with the different levels of ground that they have to deal with.
And what you really want to do in this situation as a driver is you really just want to mat that throttle. However, that's a quick way to lose a tire or a dry shaft or a differential gear.
I think the other thing you have to take notice to is how narrow this course is. So if you get to going too fast and something kicks you to the side, you can find a tree pretty quickly at the end of your day.
Just what I talked about. Oh, man.
Well, good news is he didn't flip it all the way over backwards thanks to the tree. But there's a good look at how narrow it is. He actually put that right front tire up on the tree, and that launched him over backwards.
Exactly what I was talking about that you didn't want to have happen. But again, impulsively, you tell yourself, this is the way I'm going to get up this thing. And as a result, things like that will indeed happen. But pull the thing back over. Now you can also see that they're having to use winches, losing a lot of time. Again, The faster machines will do this course in 40, maybe 50 minutes. The top half machines through the course of a day, 4 to 5 hours overall.
Yeah, so it's a long day, and needless to say, even if you have one good lap, you've got 5 more that you have to string together. So a very difficult race, but needless to say, a lot of fun for the competitors.
It's a 54-mile grueling race, and Fred and Richard, you guys got about 1 mile into it. And yeah, it's okay to break a yoke when you're making an omelet, but not when you're driving.
No, not when you're driving. Brand new rear yoke. We broke it on the first little hill climb. We caught a lot of air and just snapped.
All right, so you feel confident that you're going to get this thing fixed, right?
Well, we got the parts to do it. It's just going to take some time. You know, we got to go back over. We came back here to get the parts. We got to go over the pits to get the air impact because it's a rear yoke, so it's a lot of torque.
And what kind of time restraint do they put you guys on to get this thing fixed to get back on the course?
We have 8 hours.
That should do it.
Well, we certainly hope so. We're going to try awful hard.
We have time to get going again, so we'll get going again, and then we'll see what happens. But the big thing is get qualified for the big race. So that's the goal, and we'll try to wrap her up, get her done, get back out there, and beat everybody else that doesn't finish.
We love to hear from our fans. Go to Facebook and become a fan of Lucas Oil on the Edge. Then post your comments about this Lucas Oil on the Edge episode.
This Lucas Oil on the Edge telecast is being brought to you by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world. General Tire, anywhere is possible. Herculiner truck bed liners, when the tough comes easy.
Welcome back to OTE. When you're racing against the clock on grueling terrain, every second counts. These seasoned drivers know they have a lot of ground left to cover before the checkered flag flies. The drivers are completing the first of 6 laps, and Ted Brunson has an update on who's coming in first. It's a familiar face, but the race is still heating up.
All right, here he comes, one of the big dogs in the race. After the first lap, they're going to stop Shannon Campbell right now. Send him back on his way. Shannon, of course, as you could tell, was the first one out of that original bottleneck. He started second in line, but he has a pretty decent lead over everybody right now. Get official times for you in just a little bit.
And there's 2 distinct sections of this course. Part of it is kind of like a desert race, if you will, where it's a little more open. And then, of course, you have these sections here as well, where you really have to slow down. It becomes a lot more technical.
This is awful close to being the rock climbing portion, if you will. But then you have a distinct area that is strictly a rock climb. And right here's one of the toughest areas of the track, as we have witnessed several times here so far today.
And you can see how those vehicles are designed for ground clearance on the bottom of them as well. You just never know when you're going to need just a little extra room. If you bottom one out, it makes it almost impossible to get over the obstacle.
As once again, we take a look at the machine there. Again, they've got tail lights, they got brake lights. About the only way. We go on board with Derek West. Now, Derek West, to be honest with you, is one of the young guns in this category. As you look at these drivers and co-drivers, or co-pilots, if you will, you can tell they got all the safety equipment, but they're just not wrapped in like, let's say, a drag racer would be. West, known to be one of the tough guys, if you will, inside this category.
There's a name that's relatively new to this type of racing, Usnick Motorsports, and I'm with Mr. Usnick himself, Rob. Second year racing here. You're kind of a newbie still.
Right.
You feeling your groove right now?
Yeah, you know, our car is severely outgunned out here, but we're using these races to learn everything about suspension. And then once we get that figured out, then we'll step up to get the big engine and be able to actually run with these guys. But we know this is all new to us, and we're just out here trying to do the best we can.
Great story about this guy from Fayetteville, North Carolina, 1,000 miles away from here in Missouri, or Missouri as they call it.
Exactly.
Worth the trip, yes?
Oh yeah, we're finishing up the IEC finals, and all we have to do is pretty much cross the starting line. We're in King of the Hammers. I'm from Missouri here. I got a lot of family and friends coming down, so we gave the car the best prep it's ever had, and we're gonna run it all out.
And Brian, we heard the guys talking a little bit earlier in the show, and then again here, as these guys are really trying to qualify for the big event at the end of the year called King of the Hammers. So that's what this is all about.
It's no different than the guys who love to play poker. I mean, if you can get to a qualifying tournament to make the big one, keeps you from paying the $10,000 entry fee. But in this case, This is a must get in situation. If you want to get into that King of the Hammer, you got to earn your way in. There is no buy into that, baby. And by the way, you talk about travel, they'll go all the way to California, Ken, to play in that game.
Well, this guy's having a hard time getting over the next bump in the road, if you want to call it that, much less California. There's some big speed there, and we heard him mention earlier the LS1 Corvette motor. So some guys have some steam inside of these things, but it's not always about the horsepower. As you watch Travis Cook here just gently work his way through some of these difficult portions. And again, this is where a lot of the guys are getting stuck.
Yeah, this has been, so far at least, the toughest part of the course, and the course where we actually saw the one truck go all the way up and lean against the tree. And like I said before, the first thing you really want to do is just put that thing to the floor and hope for the best, and we saw the result of that a few minutes ago.
And again, a little more open road racing here. The guys certainly appreciate they can relax for just a moment before they get back to the tough stuff.
OTE will keep you on the edge of your seat with exciting racing, and you don't want to miss what we have in store for you later on the show. Come on back.
All right, after the second lap, there is a new leader, the 204 car, Michael Colville. That's the guy with the broken hand. He came in. Now, Shannon Campbell had that amazing time of 30 minutes and 49 seconds the first lap. It is now almost 45 minutes past the first time he came in, and he's not in yet. Something's going on out there.
And a couple of the guys still rolling across the finish line here after lap 2. Derek West will actually edge out Colville by just about 4 minutes here, so he'll take over the lead. Colville very close behind, though, as they enter lap number 3.
Lauren Healy, now there is a name synonymous in this category. I will tell you, that's last year's King of the Hammer World Champion, headed for one of the toughest parts of the course here. Struggling just a little bit, baby.
The obvious concern in any rock crawling or off-road race is the rubber, the tires. You are always worried about blowing these suckers out. Now, here in the Ultra 4 racing, it's twice as difficult to figure out what you need to do, because in rock crawling, it's about 6 to 7 PSI. They are almost flat to the ground because they need to crawl up those crevices. And of course, in off-road racing, it's about 32 PSI. So what do? You split the difference. You go about 17 to 20 and hope that it works out.
Well, that's exactly what's going on with Healy here. You know, first of all, you go through the water, so the tires are wet. They pick up mud, makes them slick. Then you try to go over those slick rocks and those edges, and because they have a little more air pressure inside of them, they won't just kind of wrap around those edges to get some bite and get up over.
That's exactly right, Ken. And the problem, as you mentioned, you got to be cautious with these things, because the rocks themselves on that one part of the course, which actually maintain probably 80% of the width of the course, you can't just jump on these things. You'll cut a tire down in a heartbeat. And as you can see, most every one of these machines was spare on the back.
You can also see the cones there as well. These guys can get penalized if they get off course, and it'll cost them time. Here, getting a little help from a spotter here. You can also see, we talked about it before, using the winches to help them up some of the difficult areas if they get the vehicle completely out of shape. Let's see if Rose can get up over this a little easier. Man,
Now,
almost.
Sean
Hold on.
Sean went after that thing very conservatively. And I got to think, and this is just me thinking, I'm not driving one of these things, fortunately, but as you look at this thing, which appears to be four-wheel steer, by the way, if you can get one of these things and get a good run and go far left, it seems like you can make it up. However, not the case here. It's just not that easy, as we got two of them dead right on that tough hill.
Yeah, and if somebody else pulls up there behind them, they can get caught up in this bottleneck. It could cost them a lot of time.
Oh, the next driver is going to come up there. If it's on any kind of a roll, it's just going to flip out.
Very
easy.
narrow path right here. Doing a good job of negotiating.
Well, there is Shannon Campbell after being out on the course for over an hour trying to winch his up that hill. He is back in the pits. Looks like it's a right rear axle problem. The other problem is, once he gets this thing fixed, he's got to drive back out to where he broke and start back from there. A long day still ahead for Mr. Campbell.
A day of endurance for both the equipment, the drivers, and the fans. Welcome back to Lucas Oil on the Edge. You are watching the Ultra 4 competition here, and It's a lot of fun to watch these guys go to work, but a very long, brutal race here. The better part of 5 hours for our fastest competitors who will deal with this stuff all day long.
And you got to keep in mind, as we saw earlier, and what I think is the toughest part of the course, the widest part, if you will, where there's only about one group to get up. A moment ago, just before we went into break, we saw 2 machines completely stop. And by gosh, it was right in this area here. So they're cleared away right now, but there are plenty of places where they're not, Ken.
Yeah, one more time, we'll go back to Ted, who's doing his best to keep up with all these competitors.
Bad news is you're broken down here. What are we looking at?
Well, we lost charging wave somewhere in the back there. It was coming and going. I think maybe we lost an alternator, so we were hoping we can get to the pit. We're between a quarter to half mile from the pit, so co-driver Jason just ran out to go grab a battery. That'll get us back to the pit, and then we're going to figure out what's going on, whether it's an alternator or what the issue is. So, but other than that, I think we've been running good today, so if we can not spend a whole bunch of time here and get back in it and see how we can do.
In the meantime, be careful because, you know, here they come.
Tough break for Rob Usnick. Interesting fact about Usnick is that he's active duty special forces, and his wife is also active duty. Usnick's been driving for 2 years and is definitely a well-liked driver. He may not be in contention for the win today, but he will get back on the track and click off some laps. With 3 laps in the books, the race is heating up between Lucas Murphy, Eric Miller, and Mike Colville. Let's get right back to the action.
And Brian, as we take a look at the leaderboard here, courtesy of General Tire, Colville has taken over the lead.
And you got perennial top 5 finishers all the way there in the top 5, Ken. And I will tell you, they'll make for a great race. But again, what we saw just before we went to break, you start seeing some dead players on the race course itself, and it makes it a little bit tougher to maneuver your way around, and especially when you're trying to get a good ET for that particular lap.
Yeah, a couple of the guys in the top 5 have been in the top 5 at every event this year, Murphy and Miller being 2 of those. And again, you can watch how narrow this course is.
Man, I got to tell you.
Amazing what these vehicles can do, isn't it?
You take a look at that thing, and I mean, it just looks like they want to just totally tip over on their side. And with a high center of gravity that you literally have to make it through this thing, I mean, it's not easy at all. The last time, West, we were looking at this machine, they were perfectly clean white helmets. The outside of the rig, though, was solid, solid mud.
Stay with us. We'll continue on when we get back.
This Lucas Oil On the Edge telecast is being brought to you by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world. General Tire, anywhere is possible. Herculiner truck bed liners, when the tough comes easy.
We're back with Ultra 4 Racing, and we've had an action-packed day. Series frontrunner Shannon Campbell has had gremlins to contend with all day long, and some of the young guns are leading the pack. Can Lucas Murphy hold off Eric Miller and claim the win? He's got 1 lap to do it, and anything can happen on this unforgiving terrain.
We'll pick up the action going into the final lap. You can see Colville now has fallen down to 4th. It is Murphy, Miller, and Keller on top.
All right, Mr. Murphy's crew chief dude, leading after 5 laps, 1 to go. How are things holding up for him?
Things are holding up pretty good. We've cut 1 tire down so far. We've got that fixed. Rig's running awesome, and Lucas will drive it through anything at this point. So he'll drive through anybody at this point to get to the finish. So now that he's in the front, we don't have to worry about it, and he can finish his lap.
A real good time on that 5th lap, 37 minutes and change. He doesn't necessarily even need to beat that time. I'm figuring if he's got 40 to 42 minutes, he's golden.
Right now, it's just finish that lap, finish it without something breaking, and just get to that finish line.
Well, I'd say as we look at the numbers, Ken, 6 or 7 minutes decide first and second overall. But again, all it takes is one of these to change it all.
And Derek West kind of in a predicament there. Yeah, he has to back up a little bit. We talked about Derek a little earlier, one of the young guns in the class here in the sport. Very aggressive driver. Boy, oh boy, I don't know how he's going to get out of this mess.
Woo!
When in doubt, stand on it.
That's what I was going to say. Use the Brian Olson method, baby. Just mat the throttle.
It actually looked like he was going to lean over and try to use that tree with the right front to get himself up and over it. But look at this terrain and how difficult it is.
This is one of the first times, Ken, we've had the onboard shot of this particular area. And again, just proves how brutal for 40 or 50 or 60 minutes this track really is. And look how easy that machine made it through there. That was a perfect way of making it through the toughest part of the course.
And again, Wes trying to use that right front tire, that tree root right there,
Whoa!
to help him up and over, and he did, but that's not the up and over he was looking for.
Woo! That'll leave a couple of marks.
And the guy behind him's thinking, good, well, you're out of the way.
Oh,
there goes a Lucas Oil banner as well.
You know, I make a little bit of a light of it by laughing a little bit, but we already know that our drivers are going to be okay. The driver from right behind there is sitting there going, I can't believe that happened. I got a shot at this deal now.
And you know what, though? I mean, hats off to Wes. He had to try something. He was trying to do something, and he was up in the top of the group here with a shot at a win, so you got to go for it.
Yeah, when you get into that position, man, you just got to, it's Katie bar the door. And that's the one that you don't want to have happen, especially on one of the flatter parts of the course. Oh, fired right back up.
Yeah, I thought maybe something got wet and he'd lost ignition there, but it started right back up, so he got fortunate.
Very fortunate. With all the elements of danger here, as we talked about trannies, dry shafts, and the like, as the checkered flag flies for Lucas Murphy. I was about to say, you don't want to lose your electronics.
Yeah, 39 minutes on that last lap. Again, to back up the earlier lap, got him the win.
All right, well, see, it worked out pretty well for you because your first name's on this winner's hat, so that's pretty cool. You didn't have to wait that long, man. You guys only had to wait about a minute to find out, but it is official. You guys have won, and it was one hell of a ride.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what, it is an awesome course. We had a great time today, and you know, I just want to give a shout out to my wife and son back home. You know, they put up with a lot of crap so we can get here, and here we are. We're 1,500 miles from home, and we finally won one. We've been working hard, so we got a lot of good sponsors. And
I mean, speaking of putting up with a lot of crap, I mean, your co-driver here puts up a lot of crap from you, right? I mean,
yes.
It's not that bad, right?
No, it's not that bad. This was a good race today. It was pretty fast, so I didn't have to get out that much.
Thanks for watching this episode of Lucas Oil on the Edge. We've enjoyed bringing you this off-road race with a twist. For Ken Stout, Brian Olson, and Ted Brunson, I'm Sarah Daly. We'll see you next time with more competitive, adrenaline-fueled motorsports. And just remember, you're not living unless you're on the edge.